Hello, all benders and non-benders, and welcome back to Avatar Generations. Today we are going to be doing an analysis of Avatar Aang. Now, you would be forgiven for a little bit of confusion as far as which Aang we are talking about, as of this moment there are not one, not two, but four different Aangs. We have the Last Airbender Aang, we have Avatar State Aang, and we have a second Last Airbender Aang. This one we're talking about, though, is Avatar Aang, meaning basically Book 3 fully realized Avatar Aang. And not unlike the Avatar, this character is master of all elements of this game. He can buff his allies, he can debuff the snot out of the enemies, he can do some damage, he can do a lot of cool stuff. So we are going to be getting into it right here, right now, with his basic ability here. First ability we have is Whirling Strike. Deals airbending damage to one enemy. Now, what does that mean by airbending damage? That basically means that whenever you attack, you're going to inflict the air debuff on the enemy for, in this case, 2 turns. So every hit is going to do that, of course, calculating your accuracy versus the opponent's resistance, whether or not that debuff actually sticks. But every time you use this attack, it will apply the element. I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. Each of these abilities has this effect for its respective element. So like I said, he can apply debuffs like crazy. If he has a bond, which we'll get to in a second, he will also give immunity to all of his allies for 1 turn, with that duration increasing based on your skill level. Basically means that for a period of time, all of your allies will be immune to debuffs, which can be pretty huge and make a difference depending on who you're fighting. If we look at his advanced skill here, Flame Streak deals firebending damage, so it will apply the fire debuff to all enemies, and then grants attack up to all allies for 1 turn, increasing based on skill level, if a bond is present on the caster. So basically, this is an AoE ability. He can apply the flame debuff or fire debuff to all enemies, and then grant attack up to all allies. You can already see how he does some crazy stuff, and we're not even halfway through the kit yet. It is some crazy stuff that Avatar Aang does. And then we take a look at his passive. Gain a bond with all allies for 1 turn whenever the caster is used as a linker or ender in a combo. Now, let's figure out what this means here, because there's a little bit of stuff to dissect here. A bond is a special buff that Aang gets. In and of itself, it doesn't necessarily do anything, but if he has the bond on his turn when he's using these 2 moves, that triggers these bonus effects. So basically, it's a thing he gets that triggers buffs from his other abilities. However, it does one more thing. If he has 3 bonds, or I should say every 3 bonds he gains, he gets an extra turn, and we're going to look into that in just a second here. One thing to keep in mind is you get the bond from being used as a linker or an ender. What that means is somebody else is using a combo with Aang being the follow-up. So let's say you have a Katara who is using a combo with Aang. Katara hits first, then Aang. Or even if you have 3 people attacking, Katara, Sokka, and then Aang, or Katara, Aang, Sokka, you will get a bond. You will not get a bond if Aang is the one who starts it. So to make this work, you need to have Aang not be the one initiating the combos. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind with your bonds. If you're trying to get these, I would honestly recommend not using Aang for combos unless you're really going for a finishing blow. Just to make sure you get as many bonds as possible. Now it mentions here, every 3 bonds, you get an extra turn with additional skills. Let's take a look at what those are real quick here. If you notice here, it's a water ability and an earth ability, so he can use all 4 elements. They're very simple. These don't have any buffs linked to bonds. Very simple, very easy. This one deals waterbending damage to all enemies, and then this one deals earthbending damage to all enemies. Like I said, with the water bending, just like the other abilities, he will apply the water debuff. With the earth bending, he will apply the earth debuff. If I'm remembering correctly, air decreases the enemy's attack, fire does damage over time, water decreases their speed, and earth decreases their defense, with some extra abilities mixed in there as you get it ranked up. That is a very bare bones description of what they do, but that's kind of what you can keep in mind as far as the most general description of these debuffs. Finally, as if he couldn't do anything else crazy, he has skill mastery abilities on his passive. At mastery level 2, whenever he gains a bond. So this is for if an ally is using him in a combo. The ally is leading the combo and using Aang. He grants increased defense to all allies for 2 turns. So factoring in all of his abilities, he can do immunity, he can do attack up, and he can do defense up. This man can do no wrong. At Master Level 3, he grants the Echo buff to one ally for 1 turn whenever you gain a bond. What is the Echo buff? It basically, I believe it's a 35% chance for that ally to gain an extra turn. So it won't proc all the time, but it's kind of one of those things where when it does happen, it's nice to have. It can be good for if one of your heavy-hitting units, like let's say Suki or the offensive Kyoshi Warrior, if you get a lucky extra turn from this Echo buff, congratulations, you're going to do a ton of damage. And then at Mastery Level 4, which we can't access just yet because there's no arena, but that is coming soon, it basically decreases the requirement from 3 bonds to 2 bonds to get that extra turn, meaning he can do it much more consistently, much more often, and just pump out crazy damage. So that is what Avatar Aang pumps out. Now you may notice this dude is pretty crazy. That's probably because he is a peace character. That makes him much more rare and premium than your other characters. I imagine that's going to be a recurring theme with this game, where the peace characters and the chaos characters are a lot more unique in their abilities and much more effective at what they do. But we'll see how that trend goes as the game progresses. Now, of course, the question is, how do you want to build him? He is very special, very unique. How do you want to build him? Well, here's what I have. I have him rocking with crit damage and attack with enough crit to make sure he is consistently getting that crit damage. I've got him running at about 75% crit rate. Very clean, very consistent. This is what, like I said, this is what I would recommend personally. Mix in crit damage, some attack. You could go crit rate if you really need it. Speed is also good. You can't go wrong with speed. The reason I would shy against it just a little bit, and I emphasize only a little bit because you really can never go wrong with speed, is since Aang is going to be used in so many combos, you really want to maximize his damage as much as possible so that every single combo he is hitting as hard as humanly possible. And that way he doesn't even need to attack necessarily to do that damage. Plus, he does extra turns. He'll be able to slam him hard twice in 1 turn. It's all fun times. But that's much more of an opinion. If you wanted to make him just speedy as heck, you could jack up the speed, go for that. That one can be up to personal preference and however your farming works out. If you have a good set for speed, go for it. Looking at the supports, not a huge amount of crazy options. The Sky Bison here with the HP buff is the only one I have available to me at the moment, and I'm not even sure if there are other supports he can use. If I'm remembering correctly, I don't believe there is. I don't think his Festival of Peace banner actually even came with its own support that he would even be able to use. So that can be a little bit tricky with getting him with abilities that actually tailor to him, because all the Sky Bison does is really boost his HP. Not bad, because obviously you want bulk to make sure he's surviving long to do those hits. But it'd be nice if we did have a more offensive one. Maybe we'll get one in the near future here that more plays well to him. Now, looking at relics, we do have a few options. If you saw my summoning video, you know I do have this maximum tier Yang Chan's Memorial. This one basically restores his HP and the HP of the person initiating the combo whenever he uses a linker or an ender. Very much synergistic with that part of his kit. My one thing with this is that it is not offensive. It is purely a defensive relic. I would honestly even say this would fit a little bit better on someone like Boomy, because not only does he scale on HP, but he has a ton of it. So he will heal an absolute bonkers amount and be able to increase his damage with this while he's at it. But this is obviously a great pick for Aang. If you want him to be bulkier, you're having trouble surviving something like the Unagi, this is the relic for you. But this is a premium option and only usable if you got lucky in Festival of Peace banner. I would not recommend summoning for this if you already have Aang, or if you just don't want to summon on the banner at all, as there are plenty of other options. In this case, we're going to take a look at these two. We got the Vines of Banyan Grove, 6% chance to gain lifesteal for 1 turn when the caster is healed. So basically, at max tier, if he gets healed by like Katara or Iroh, he might get some lifesteal. Very helpful for if you're trying to get some bulk. If you're slamming people with those AoE moves, you can do a lot of healing. And this does have an attack stat to it, so it can increase his damage. Additionally, you can take a look at the Paku's Gift ability, which can increase the rank of elemental debuffs on the enemy after you attack. This basically can make them more potent and can stack onto your already impressive debuffing ability. And that's about what we have here. Even with the relics, he doesn't have a huge number of options. Definitely wanting to wait and see what else he comes up with here. We do have the Air Bison Whistle, which can lower the defense of the enemy. Nice thing with this one is that you can inflict air element debuffs very easily, so you can tank the enemy's defense very easily. The problem with that, though, is that this only is going to work 3 times, so it's not going to be the most detrimental thing that the enemy will be facing. 30% defense decrease is certainly not bad, but I feel like you could do better in some other ways. So probably, if you did not get lucky and get the Yang Chan's Memorial, probably go for the Vines of Banyan Grove, I'd say. The lifesteal you can never go wrong with, plus the attack buff, and being a 3-star, it's very easy to get. But especially in the future, we'll keep an eye out for any more 3 or 4-star relics that would play well with him. And yeah, that about sums up Avatar Aang. He is an incredibly great unit. Really, the one thing holding him back is that he is a highly premium unit. You need some serious luck or some serious resources to get this guy from that banner. It has an abysmally low rate of actually getting Aang himself, and a 300 pity summon to get him for free. So saying that, calling it for free does not really perfectly describe how it is. More like guaranteed to get him at all. At 300, that is far from free. I would not call it that one bit. But yeah, if you were hoping or thinking about summoning on him, I hope this does help. He is a fantastic character for Zuko, for the Unagi. I've been getting quite a lot of use out of him, as you've even seen from the past clips I showed. But there are definitely other Aangs that you can use. This Last Airbender Aang in particular is quite good as well. So if you're not really hurting for a more powerful airbender, then you can hold off on it. But if you do really want him, then go for it. Just know that that banner can be pretty unforgiving. So yeah, that's about all we have for today. I imagine very soon we'll be getting the waterbending pirate woman. I believe her name is, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, but I believe it's Kiwak. She should be coming very soon, just judging by the little teases they give in the mail. So that should be a powerful opponent, I would imagine, and hopefully as easy to get as Dojo Master. So we have some very cool things to look forward to. Until then, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, would appreciate a like, would appreciate a subscribe. Lets me know what you all enjoy and gives me motivation and ideas for new videos to bring to you all very soon. Until then, we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.